Hey, I think I'm on. It's a little bit unusual for me to be here, isn't it? I actually have a little bit of time in between clients. So I thought that I would pop on and see if anyone else was here. This is usually what I do in my groups. And we've had the most fabulous time this month in Honey Club doing devotion. And yesterday we had the most glorious closing ceremony. So it's feeling so nourished and loved up that I thought instead I would see if there's someone out there today who just needed a little love hit or wanted to ask me a little question, and in which case I would just hang here and see what the universe delivers. See if there's anyone there who wants to say hi or ask a question or needs a particular flavour of love today. So if that's you, I'm going to hang here and see. I've been reflecting on lately how similar finances or money and relationship are, aren't they? They're probably two of the areas of life that we're not educated on in school. Largely we think that perhaps we're supposed to know it or learn it. Not even learn it, it's supposed to come innately, or that it's something that's natural within us. Perhaps we don't even seek out coaches for advice or guidance. Perhaps the idea of holding on to varying levels of abundance within either one of those areas brings up a whole lot of fear or pain or trauma stories or beliefs or shame about it. I've been reflecting on, just that whole concept at the moment. Hi, Janine. Hi. Is there anything you want to riff on today? I didn't have any purpose other than I've spent loads of beautiful time in Honey Club this month, and I have time in between now and another client at 4. So I thought that I would hang out here instead and just see if anyone else was out there too. If you wanted to have a chat, I know it's not kind of two-way because we're not on a video screen together, but at least via chat, you're more than welcome to ask me a question via the chat box or riff on something. Tell me where you're at, where you want to get to, what's standing on your way. Hi, Amelia. It's so good to see you. Well, I'm not really saying it's nice to see your name and think that you're there on the other side. That still feels energetic, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So I was thinking, actually, I'm in a mastermind with Carly Marie, who, if you don't know, is my business coach. And one of the conversations we were having in this mastermind was around the openness of financial abundance that various coaches make in the world, and how much that's veiled or concealed, or how much that's revealed as a truth, versus when you find out the truth, perhaps how that changes a perception of hierarchy or assumption that you have perhaps pre-established in your own mind. And I kind of was reading it all going, yeah, I feel all of that. And then I wrote, it's a lot like relationship. And certainly, what I have the deepest privilege in seeing, I think, from having worked so intimately with women for so many years, and certainly more and more in the last 5 years with, I guess I work pretty intimately with couples in birth, which would have been, how old's Jade? She's 13. I started that when she was 2, so 11 years ago. You see a lot in birth, a lot of dynamics come to the forefront. And then working with couples in the work I do now is probably in the last 12 months or so. And I was thinking, man, we have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. And it's a lot like the veiling of finances too, isn't it, in the coaching world? And then I was reflecting on the fact that I'm holding a little bit of nervousness in my body today. And I was thinking, I think it's excitement, but I'm not sure. Because tomorrow is our last week of Intimacy Ninja, and tomorrow is Yoni Love. And it's actually one of the most intimate videos that I think I've ever done, because it's Nick and I together. And it's Nick between my legs. And it's Nick and I literally doing the practices that we've done together for I don't even know. I don't even know how long I've been doing it more intimately. Probably would have been after my second, I think. Probably more like acutely or more powerfully in the last 5. And I was thinking, I hope that's what women get from me, is the unveiling that there's no part of me that's kind of hidden here. I think if you're following me here and then on Nourishing the Mother, it's really and truly, it's me. There's no part that's like hidden to assumptions, kind of like, how much do we believe of a coach financially? It's, for me, it's relationship, right? Where you put your $1 million is where you reap the rewards. My $1 million exists in my relationship, and it exists in my parenting. So, and I'm listening to this gorgeous book at the moment called Happy Money, which, if you haven't read or listened to, is super gorgeous, just to really get a good vibes hit on financial empowerment. It's actually Kasia Burke that said, oh my gosh, you should read it. It's like Happy Money. And she's been talking about it for ages, so I'm going to read it. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And there was this line that I wrote on my mirror, because I always write things that I'm contemplating on my windows and on my mirrors as I walk around my house. I get to like have these hit ups of thought processes, because I just enjoy my own thought processes. And it was this one: where you invest your love, you invest your life. Isn't that fascinating? Where you invest your love, you invest your life. So where are you investing your love, and where are you out of love? And I'm learning a new narrative, certainly in my lineage with money. And so I'm learning how to declutter and reprogram and fall in love with abundance in the form of money in a way that has never been safe for me before, or in my lineage, or, part of that. So I just loved it. I thought, yeah, because what you love is the abundance of your life, isn't it? So maybe that has something for you. I don't know. Janine, you've had such amazing, incredible moments with your man just after Temptress. Did you? Oh, that that makes my heart sing. If there was nothing else, it's all I want from this lifetime, I think. It's just to feel like I've been deeply useful and purposeful in opening women. I think that would be my heart's desire. Makes my soul soar. And there's no accident, is it, when your heart sings and your soul soars? And what breaks your heart and opens your heart are always important things to know on your purpose, aren't they? That's mine. So, thank you. Receive that into my heart. It feels beautiful. So has anyone got any questions? There's a few people watching, but I can't see you because I don't know. It's easier to comment, isn't it, when you have already an established relationship? I know. So Janine and Amelia, I know quite well. So it's lovely. Lovely to hang. But if you have any questions you want to ask me, if there's a post you wrote and you're like, can you just explain that a little bit more, or something like that, I'm more than happy to. I'm truly just here just to hang out because I've got time. Unexpected time. It feels like bonus time because I didn't know this time was going to arrive today. And I just come back from a date with my husband. Isn't that lovely? Even in ISO, we're lucky that we have this big age gap between 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4. So 1 and 2 are teens, so my son's nearly 15. So he babysits and we go out for dates. And I'm like, oh, God, I planned this well. / didn't plan it at all. There's always a bigger divine plan, isn't there? So it's sunshine here. We're still in ISO here, stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne. So we went for a walk on the beach with masks and everything. But of course, every place that you can exercise is like flooded. There was like 200 people on the beach, and I thought, oh my God, never in the 13 years that we have lived here has there been this many people on the beach at this time of year. So everybody's out to be renewed and nourished by the feminine as she exists in the world, and you certainly find her at the ocean, don't you? And in the sun. It's so glorious to see how much we get nourishment from the goddess, from Mother Nature, all forms of the feminine. And yet we don't. We forget those blessings, don't we? I often think that's maybe one of the greatest tragedies, is we move so far into efficiency and doing and achievement and tasks and child minding and space holding and getting the jobs and the things set up and the the lists, that often I think with that we've forgotten what a blessing and an art form and a worshipping it is to be blessed by the incarnation of the goddess as she exists around you. And sometimes that's going to be in a redwood forest as you stand there, and sometimes that can be in a woman as she walks into your space or stands next to you, or actually receiving those gifts of beauty and pleasure and nourishment is enlivening and soul opening, and it's why it's been perverted, isn't it? So, Gorgeous Amelia is messaging me. I don't know if you're still online or not, but I will quickly type back to you. Beautiful Amelia does all my admin, and she gets everyone into groups and in and out, and she's the most divine creature. Ah, Annie, hi! How's the new pad going? Would love to hear more about the term temptress and how that comes from anger. Yeah, how does that come from anger? Actually, for me, that came a lot of years ago when I was working with my own anger. And what I realized was it was part of the forming of an archetype or an identity that existed within me that I felt motivated to love, rather than this part of me that I'd always thought was ugly or destructive, or the ferocious monster hiding under the bed that I either had to chain up or it was destruction, right? And I had just so many muddled narratives around what anger was within me and outside of me. So when it came to reforming love, identity and awareness around this part of me that I wanted to love and remember, right? Bring back in without being perverted, without being layered with meaning and story, that everything is neutral, right? Until you attach meaning to it, everything is neutral. And I had so much attachment that had become something that it was never at its essence, right? Just like money isn't good or bad, money is just money. And it's what we attach to it that ultimately defines how we feel about it and what that flow of currency is used for. So when it came to doing that, I realized all of the benefits of anger, which we talked about in Temptress. And I realized that my Temptress was a bit tempestuous, right? The more that I locked her up and hid her away like my dirty little secret, like a mistress scorned, and hath have no fury like a woman scorned, right? So the more that I realized I was the lover of this divine woman within me, and she's super fucking sexy and daring and just heightened experiences and courageous, and part of what made my warrior and part of what made me part of my seductress, because she made everything so safe and full of energy and vibrancy and movement. And when we talked about this in Temptress, but when I loved her more, I could see that when I locked her up, she was like the mistress, right? That I had not treated well, that I hadn't loved well. And because I'm a lover, the idea of not loving my lover well just really landed for me and made me go, oh, no, I can love you better. And when I love you better, you're going to love it. And so in my mind, temptress, anger became temptress because she was the most magnificent archetypal temple dancer of energy and fire and ferocity and fierceness, right? We talk about the feminine these days and we throw around the word like I'm so fierce. But she's so fucking fierce because it's part of her being that is so utterly boundaried and so sure of herself and her confidence and her worth and her worthiness that it's not even questioned or even uttered a word of, you know. So for me, I know that I'm rambling, but for me, Annie, that was where it came from. Was I went searching for how to love this part of myself that I'd never had a blueprint for loving, and was so out of love with that it was destructive to myself and the people that I loved around me. So when I could see her in my mind's eye, and she's like so sexy and fierce and delicious, and she was like my mistress, then I could love her better. And she only comes up firing like a woman scorned when I haven't loved my mistress well. And I thought, that's just how it feels in my body. I can love her better, you know? Does that make sense? And your house is going good. Let me know if that landed for you or if you wanted something different. I'm so glad your house is getting set up gradually. It is a gradual process though, isn't it? You've kind of got to love somewhere. I just read your word. You've kind of got to live somewhere for a little bit to work out exactly the feng shui of the whole movement, don't you? Oh, good, Annie. I'm glad that landed for you. I actually, when I was on this pathway and, you know, in Temptress, we had a few rituals to do, and I actually found a card for her, and I had the picture of exactly in my mind's eye. I found this card, or it found me, I mean, who knows, of exactly who I think my Temptress is when I picture her in my mind's eye. And I wish I can't find what I've done with it. I went looking for it the other day and I can't find it. So maybe I don't need it anymore in terms of that evolution of her. But I wrote her a letter in this card, and I would just keep that card slipped in my undies drawer, in my delicates. And then every now and then I would pull it out and I would reread my love letter, and I would gaze at this glorious woman, because aren't you just blessed and rejuvenated by beauty just by looking at it, particularly in the form of a woman. And that is the basis of Temptress. So maybe that lands for you. I don't know. Avoiding the mudslinging. So if you listen to Nourishing the Mother, I kind of coined this term called mudslinging, which talks about when we've got muddied feelings in our own body, what we can tend to do is, as opposed to going, what happens in my body is my responsibility, and we can be triggered and self-responsible at the same time. Instead of that, we go, this doesn't feel good, and our brain instantaneously, which is part of our ego identity and keeps this structure of identity safe and secure, which means you don't grow but you don't change either. We will instantaneously feel a feeling, and like it's a microsecond, as we look out from us, whatever is in front of us, we can tend to project and attach this feeling to that person, situation, setup, blah, blah, blah. So because I know that it's not reality, and because I know that we can go, bang, it's because of you, or like, it's so fast, right? Or it can, until you learn how to slow it down, it can be so fast. something triggers you and you've already decided it's because of that. And then we can start to live because we need people to be something or some way, or a circumstance to be a certain setup. We need our pillow fluffed exactly right just so that we can be exactly as we wish to be. But it's very, very codependent because you're relying on circumstances, setups, and people outside of you in order to dictate how you feel. And of course, as you know, I teach the opposite, which is all about self-responsibility. So mudslinging for me became a term that I used with my kids because it actually started with my second daughter because bless her cotton socks, she's very good at it. And what I was doing was building that body autonomy and that language with her. And so we would slow down these moments where it had happened and she'd thrown this yuck feeling and like mud balls, like splattered it all over a sibling or a person in front of her, because in that moment it relieves the tension or the pressure or the discomfort that you are internally feeling. But the consequence of that is that it's a toxic dump onto someone else that you're feeling. So it tends to be destructive, and it tends to will certainly be destructive towards relationships and people around you. So the language and the way that I always talked to her about that was, hang on, can we just press pause? I just want you to notice how you're feeling right now. Like, just slow it down, and almost like a blueprint. I want you to realize how you're feeling. And because of that feeling, you went like this, usually onto her brother. Okay, I'm going to have to go in a minute. I've got a session in 10 minutes. So stay here for another couple of minutes and then I'll go. So mudflinging came from that concept of I could just feel that sludge and the way that it felt better because it's less self-responsible. And it's kind of like wielding anything, isn't it? Is that even with anger, there's an edge of ecstasy when we just unleash, isn't there? Because it's a relief to the discomfort that we feel internally. Of course, it's destructive, not constructive, because we're releasing onto another person and then they're covered in that mud and then they have to do something with that mud. And our relationship doesn't get any better, and nor do we grow. But it feels good in the moment. That's why it's an unconscious processing, no different if you grew up with, parents that yelled or scream or hit or, whatever your setup is why we're programmed with that, because it's like, I don't have to be self-responsible when I can just use these beautiful people around me to get rid of it. And I don't have to really do anything about it. And I don't have to really change. Because change is hard and the ego doesn't want you to change. The ego that keeps this construction of reality and who it thinks you are, or who you think you are at this point in time, doesn't want that cracked. But of course, the greater the pain, the more that we're tipping that precipice of where that sort of somewhat dynamic balance of benefits and challenge sits here, and all of a sudden maybe we're getting a few more benefits than drawbacks to the way that we currently are, so we're not really motivated to change until at some point that pain rate lesson with the feather, brick or sledgehammer starts to change a little bit, and we get more and more pain and more dysfunction and more destruction, and all of a sudden we're like, I'm in pain, I can't be here anymore. And then we're going to make decisions from there, aren't we? So that's the point at which that shell has grown too small, and like the baby bird, it's hard work to break out of the shell or learn to fly or whatever format works well for you, but it's always that precipice point at which you're breaking free. So how do you avoid mudslinging? I don't look at it, well, I guess it's avoiding it, but I don't look at it so much as avoiding it, more as I look at it as practice. So as I said to you or not just you, but to the group for Temptress, was the self-responsibility part is to realize that the world and the universe is continuously in a conversation with you, and is continuously communicating with you. So And on top of that, we're continuously co-creating with everyone, including the universe. So everyone, even our little tiny babies, we're co-creating as higher souls continuously for a set of circumstances that grow us in a way that the world is working for our growth, not in the way of our growth. So when you look at it with the framework of that, whatever feels like dysfunction is really just a red flag or an opportunity of going, I need you to pay attention. Growth here. Please look at this. Or often what will happen is we've put out a manifestation in the world and we go, we want to, live better, have better abundance, know my purpose, seek the blah, 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 have the relationship like this. But the truth is, it's not the fact that you've put out the manifestation and it comes to you. You have to become the person for whom vibrates at that frequency, for whom those opportunities are at that frequency, right? I mean, that's law of attraction stuff. You have to become the person for whom that reality is possible. The person as you are now has the reality as it exists right now. So to have a different reality, you have to change your thinking, your habituation and your actions in order to experience actually what it is that you're wanting to manifest. So because I'm also aware of that and I go, oh, okay, so all of this then is the playground of learning. Whatever this is for my growth. Whatever it is here for me. Whatever this is love for me. So I'm not looking at it, the person, the setup, the trigger, the environment is it's not even relevant, because this circumstance is created so that I bring attention to something that I need to heal, be with, fix, transcend. Whatever it is that this is so that I can have the dreams that I've put out into the world. So, this is kind of the format that Bridget and I talk about in Nourishing the Mother all the time. Is kind of like, we love to throw around my children and my teachers, but do we really understand what that means? Like, this is where I'm so humbled and I go, oh, this teaching hurts. But thank you. Thank you for this moment of pain, because it's grace, but only when we see it that way. And it's the same with our intimate relationships. So I don't look at it so much as avoiding mudslinging as transforming my relationship with the universe, and the universe as it exists in my lover or whoever my intimate partner is in that moment or moments, and with my children, because they're all the universe, right? And we're all rubbing up against each other, like Rumi said, so our mirrors can be polished. But if you arc against every polishing, how will your mirror ever be shined? So it's the self-responsible part. We can love the wounded part of us, and we can be self-responsible as the adult that we are now, who has more tools and more resources and more capacity than I did back then. But if I'm going to hold on to the beliefs that keep me trapped in that state, I'm not going to grow beyond it, right? Sorry, my loves. I am going to have to go and have a beautiful session with a client. Oh, Nicole. Yes, it's all about energy and vibration. It is. The container of this body can't hold more unless it expands and stretches to hold more. Yeah, truth. Expanding me currently to hold and receive more. Yeah, it's both, right? It's totally both. You can't just have in-breath without there being an out-breath. The whole universe is constructed upon inhales and exhales, right? In and out always. Can't just keep breathing in. Avoiding has always been my go-to, my automatic fall into learning to no longer avoid but openly receive it. And oh my gosh, are you not masterful at that this year? I've been through Queen School and Honey Club with you. I know how profoundly you have shifted and moved, and therefore are moving differently in the world. So, we have to celebrate the small differences too. I think if you don't celebrate the small differences, you miss the big ones. So thanks for the hang. This was fun. I love that I had to spare half hour. How delicious. Thanks for being here. Hope I answered maybe a little something you wanted to hear. All right, I want to go do my thing with a beautiful woman. and I'll see you.